Coach asked the players, but I'd like to hear from you as well. What do you think some of the strengths are going to be of this year's squad?
Well, I obviously think that having Max Rossiter back, having a senior leadership catcher and a guy that's been in the fire and how he performed last year, I think is a huge thing, especially if you're talking about the amount of guys we're replacing and the young bucks, so to speak, on the mound. It's really nice to have kind of an older guy behind the plate, not only in games, but in day-to-day practice and all that has been huge. And then to have Trevor Williams back, to kind of have that, allows me to sleep a little bit better at night. You guys start talking about all our freshmen and all that, but to have Trevor Williams, who's kind of been through the ringer here. As a freshman, he was that eighth inning guy and trying to figure out, and then being a starter, but being the Saturday starter, so he kind of let Brady Rogers do his thing, and now to have Trevor where he's at, I think is a huge plus for us. Not only because the things that Trevor Williams does day to day is the way he's learned from those guys. It's really trickling down to those young guys, and that's a big part about this program. And yeah, we have a big turnover. I mean, we lost 10 guys. 10 guys, the most in college baseball got drafted was out of Arizona State last year, and then we had 8 of our incoming guys draft and not even show up to our place. So those are the things that happen year to year. And so yeah, we do have some new faces. We're gonna have some new faces. I mean, really, how do you replace a Devin Marrero, a Joy DeMichael, an Andrew Applin, a Brady Rogers? I mean, you're replacing some big guys, but we also have some guys that are some sophomores this year and some other guys. So I think going back to it, the strength of this team is it's a team. This year's team really doesn't have that can't miss first round draft pick, in my opinion, other than maybe Trevor Williams. But in my experiences here at Arizona State, when we've had really good years, we've had a really good team. And we've been able to pick and choose and move guys in and out and really have opportunities for a lot of people to play. And I think this year's team's going to prove that out.
You've seen all the younger players come through all the fall workouts and now that spring's starting. Which younger players really impressed you through fall and now starting practices?
Well, I mean, what's nice is that they've gone from not knowing where their classes are at to now at least they kind of know where classes are going on campus, and they know where the weight room's at and all that. So I'd have to say all of them have done a good job as far as figuring out what it's like to come here. But it's still really early to tell us exactly where that guy's going to fit in or where he's sitting, because we're still in the heat of the battle trying to figure that out. But if you look at this thing, the strength of the guys that are probably going to be throwing the fire really early is our pitching staff. Our pitching, because they're going to have to, because we're just replacing some good arms. We're replacing Jake Barrett, replacing our closer, replacing our Friday starter. So we're going to ask those young kids on the mound to really kind of make a big impact for us early. Position player wise, man, I mean, the future looks great. I mean, we've got freshmen in the outfield, we've got freshmen at the corner, we've got freshmen at first base, we've got a freshman in the middle. I mean, we've got a freshman behind the plate. So all those guys, if you look at this thing, it's my job, and it is going to be my job this year. I need them to play. I need them to develop some type of role and niche on this year's team, not only for this year, because I think they're going to help us win this year, but it's just the strength of the program and allow these kids to really kind of grow in the program. So if you want to ask about a particular kid, I'm going to say probably, not going to throw a name to you, but as a group, this is one of the most connected freshman classes I've had come in my experiences at ASU. And it's a lot of them. There's 16 of them. But they got connected pretty quick. And they got the idea what this place was all about pretty quickly. So excited about it.
Players address this, but coming back with the postseason ban over, how much of a difference does it make to be able to come in here and say our goal is Omaha, as opposed to having to say, well, we just want to win the Pac-12?
Having grown up in this program, last year was probably the toughest thing I've ever had to do involved in this program, is to sit and tell guys in November, oh, by the way, no matter what you do, you're not going to get an opportunity to go to postseason. And so, at the end of last year, like I told our kids sitting in that clubhouse in Tucson, where it looked like we just lost the national championship. I've never seen a team take it as hard as I've seen a team that wasn't going anywhere. It looked like the last day of elimination or last day of a postseason. And so that to me tells me everything I need to know about the group I have coming back and the group that kind of hung true last year is that we didn't make it to postseason last year because the NCAA wouldn't allow us to. Now, we can talk about that all we want. We talk about that every year here. It's been going on for years. The deal is we have that opportunity. Now it's up to us. It's up to us to embrace that and prepare. And the process that we're going to continue to have during this season is about trying to get that carrot at the end. But if we look too far in front of us, it's gonna skip us by, and we're not gonna enjoy the in-between. I keep telling these guys, and you heard them in here, I mean, they're focused. They have a belief in this thing. But we also have to be focused in being great today. And let's be great today, and let's enjoy the process. And let's sit back and enjoy the season. Let's enjoy every day that it comes to. Let's enjoy and not keep looking towards the end. Let's look today, and then hopefully at the end, that's the product, the byproduct of the process that these kids stay pretty true to and how we develop kids.
The players kind of hit on this, and they were talking about how when they watched Arizona win the national championship last year, the one year they didn't have the chance to go to it, after that last weekend, how it really just lit the fire inside of them and got them even more excited for this year. What was it like for you when that happened, and how excited did that get you for this rivalry?
I can't answer that. No, you know, that's just something like, and I heard Jeff say that earlier, what our kids need to understand, and it reaffirmed to me, in this conference, the Pac-12 conference, I mean, you're talking about that much between winning the Pac and winning a national championship. I mean, we're all playing at the end, and every team, there was 3 teams at the end, 4 teams at the end in the Pac. It goes one way or the other. At the end, you're going to be the Pac-12 champion. And then you look at it, and 6 teams make it to a regional. 5 of them go to a super regional. 2 of them go to the College World Series, and 1 wins the national championship. That, to me, tells you all the strength you need to know about this conference and what our kids are challenged with day in and day out. And watching U of A win the national championship, I'll be honest with you, it was so nice to have a Pac school win it, and because the SEC had been taking control of it, so it was really nice to have a Pac-12 team win it. But I'll also be honest with you, it wasn't a lot of fun sitting around and not playing. And it wasn't fun to see where our guys could have went, because we would have had that opportunity also. So I'm excited now that there's no excuses. That's the great thing about this thing. You know, it's up to us. We get in or get out. We want to talk about this. Well, we got to walk the walk, and we get that opportunity this year.
Tim, you mentioned Devin Abe. I mean, Devin, Marrero, Applin, and Ruiz also. Those guys are all gone, but some of these guys like Benjamin Stankiewicz, McDonald, Allen, Kaufman, you know, those are the guys that typically...
Causey,
Bridgewater,
yeah, Bridgewater.
You know, Tucker. That typically make jumps, and then we see them the next year, and they're something beyond what they were before. Are you seeing that out of some of these guys?
Yes, and that's the other part about, you know, we can talk a lot about our incoming class, because yes, on paper they're a very strong group, but I think also the strength for us here is the development of kids from one year to the next. And one kid that's the freshman that doesn't play a lot, and before you know it, he's all Pac-12, Joey DeMichael. So you know, if you look at Andrew Applin's career, he played, but he didn't play every day until he was a junior and he became who Andrew Applin was. So I mean, even to that sense, Devin Marrero didn't start his first game here at Arizona State. So yes, that's the other thing that we've got to really understand in this thing is that Drew Stankiewicz is a year older. You're older, you're stronger. Bridgewater, Causey, Kaufman's had at-bats. Trevor Allen's had at-bats. He's making, you know, he's growing in this program. Adam McCreary has another year on the mound after summer ball. So yeah, that's where I feel that it's not this big separation that we're going to ask these freshmen to be these phenoms right away, because I don't need them to be. Because I've got Max Rossiter, and I've got those other kids, you know, the McDonalds and my son Tucker. I mean, we got some guys that have been through this program, and they're growing into this thing, and they're ready. They're ready to be those guys, and they're ready to show the freshmen what they need to do is play in this thing. And so that's where, you know, our guys talk about all the time. The competition level here has been huge, just not only because of our young kids, but also our kids that have grown in this program and become better baseball players also.
Another thing that the players had touched on a little bit is your strength of schedule this year is fantastic, and you get to go on the road and at home against some of the best teams in the country and teams that continuously make the NCAA tournament. How excited are you to be able to prove what type of team you are against quality opponents so that you can really show the type of baseball that Arizona State has?
Well, I think that, you know, the strength of schedule, or why we do that, is there's a commitment that we get our guys exposed to as much as we possibly can. And, you know, you want to talk about the rankings and the preseason rankings and all that stuff. We're going to know pretty quick where we're sitting. And these young kids are going to have to get out of their diapers pretty quick to figure it out, because we're going to Tennessee right away. Bethune-Cookman, you know, that's a great team coming from Florida. They're not going to be scared of Arizona State. And so we schedule that just so our kids do get used to that, and they get used to going to Tennessee and understand. And I want them to find out pretty quick that not everybody loves the Sun Devils. You know, at home, everybody, you know, that's kind of a fun thing to do. But you got to go on the road and listen to people not really that excited that you're there. I think it gives our guys a chance to understand that. And this year's schedule is not backing down, and having Arkansas come in, and we've always had some battles with them. But for us, we talk about this thing, and that's how we try. It's a process of the season. And the preseason is our process to get to the pack. Well, we want to try and prepare our guys for everything that we possibly can to get ready. And then we get in the pack, it's a new season, and then we try and get ready and make our adjustments to where we need to be. And then postseason hopefully is at the end. So I think our non-conference schedule is going to give us an opportunity to get beat up, to get back up, and to respond to some things that might not be as comfortable.
Like you hit on a little bit before, last year you'd said that the team that ends up winning the Pac-12, it'll come down to that last Sunday. And it did, and it was between so many teams, and then that team goes on to win the College World Series. What do you think that says about just the ability to perform in the Pac-12 and how much that translates into preparing you for the postseason?
Well, it's playoff baseball. You know, that's why we do our schedule the way we are. But the Pac is playoff baseball, and it's proven out year in and year out that the teams that make it to postseason out of the Pac have opportunities to go deep in the postseason. And I think, you know, that's the other key ingredient for our young guys to understand how, like I go back to, how close you are, how you really are being thrown into the fire and being put in a position where that is going to be something that what postseason baseball is all about. And the Pac is just, it's well coached, it's well played, there's great athletes, there's first rounders, there's every Friday starter is amazing. All those things just teach you how to handle that, and this year's not going to be any different.
McCreary had some strong moments where he wasn't healthy the whole time, but he had some strong moments. Where is he at right now? And then have you sorted out some roles in your bullpen yet?
Yeah.
In terms of how you're going to work out.
You know, Adam McCreary was hurt last year, and he got healthy towards the end and threw really well at the end and had a really good summer in the Cape Cod League, and has shown nothing different than that since he's been back. And so Adam's progressing tremendously to where he will, you know, if we open today, you know, he'd be in the mix as far as a starting rotation. I think he's pitching well enough, and he's progressing that he's the type of guy that, you know, that's one of the reasons we brought Adam in. He was going to be that big lefty that was going to be kind of in the middle of a weekend, and so Adams has done nothing but shown that he's ready for that. And then you know, it's still, you got Gillies back, who pitched on Sunday, so he's another year young, older and stronger, had a good summer. You got Blackford, who's a senior now, that can fit into that role. You know, and then the whole key on this thing is I think we're going to leave Dunbar where he's at. I think we're going to leave Dunbar as a lefty situational guy because he responds well with his arm, so he can throw back-to-back days. So we're looking at Dunbar still in the same type of situation, more of a middle guy. The big key is what are we doing with our young guys? You know, who's going to be the next Jake Barrett? You know, who's probably 2 years from now is going to be a starter, but is he our guy that we bring out of the pen and he's our closer? You know, who's the Trevor Williams of the group that is going to be that 8th, 9th guy? I mean, we're looking strongly at some of those guys, our young guys, as far as back-end guys, and the guys that might be a back-end on a weekend could end up being your guy that's your Tuesday, Wednesday starter. So competition from that standpoint is going to play out more as we just started practice on Friday, so we got some inter squads here to kind of see how the guys came back. You know, the years that I've been around Coach Knutson, the fall is, the turnaround with guys after the fall is amazing. So we're looking to see who took his throwing program and his philosophical process in the fall, and see where that next, who's taking that next step, that next leap when we're back here. And then we'll have a little bit more educated but educated on where our personnel fits in as far as how we play this thing out the rest of the year.
What's your take on preseason rankings? The guys said that it didn't matter much to them, but what do you say about them? You guys are as low as 16 and unranked and some.
Well, I mean, you know, you look at it, and those are all opinions, you know, and to be honest with you, they're probably a little bit more educated. You know, our guys got a little upset about it, but being ranked is being ranked, and we're being ranked in polls, and that shows respect towards the program. When you lose 10 juniors in your program on a professional baseball, and you've got 16 freshmen coming in, I can understand while they're not in the clubhouse every day, so our guys are dealing with that, but the outside world is probably looking at that, and I can understand that. But I think what you saw from the statement from our guys is that, and I agree with them, they don't really look at that stuff. They look at the process. I hope they're looking at the process of what it takes to prepare themselves today, and see what it happens as the season progresses. And I'm kind of the same way. It's kind of like, you know, you throw that stuff out there and everybody's going on what they got back, they're thrown back, you know, where they finished, all that stuff. But it really, a lot of things happened between last year to where we are now. But, you know, it is a cliche, but it is kind of the reality of it. Man, I'd rather be ranked 1 at the end than been ranked in the beginning and not finish that way. So I think that's the carrot that we're chasing.
Something that Trevor hit on was how fantastic the chemistry is of this group of guys in particular. How important do you think that is with pretty much a lot of new guys coming into positions and filling those voids like where you lose in Applin and DeMichael, Marrero?
Well, those guys didn't give themselves as much credit as I'm going to give them. That when you develop what you call chemistry, is there's so much competition in this dugout, and especially this year, that these older guys from day one really took these young kids under their wing and made them feel like they're a part of the program, that they're not just waiting to see who they're going to be. They said, no, we're jumping in right now. You're jumping in. We don't care what year you are. You're jumping in. And those kids, Max, you know, those guys that were sitting out here grabbed those guys from the beginning and just made them feel a part. And I've been around, you know, here long enough where that's sometimes not an easiest thing to do. And, you know, but these kids have really made it an important part of, because at the end of the day, they realize it. We're going to need everybody at some point, and everybody's working is just as hard as anybody else, and everybody has the same responsibilities. So at the end of the day, they got to feel like, hey man, we're all in this thing together, and that's a big thing. And teams that I've been around, teams that when I played here, teams that I've coached, not necessarily always what you would consider the can't miss product. Program teams make it to Omaha and make it to what we're looking to do. It's the teams that are really kind of that team that kind of grinds it out and kind of really enjoys being around each other, enjoys getting kicked and getting up, and all those things that happen. So I think that's a huge part of success in any team. You look at any team, I mean, you look at any of the success, you're talking even about the Super Bowl, everybody's talking about the team, what they're like in the locker room. Well, it's a big deal, and so these guys have done a good job of trying to make that as special as they possibly can.
Does this group of guys remind you of any teams in years past?
Well, I hope they remind me of the 1981 team. So, but, you know, they do in the fact, like I said, this is a team that seems to be a team that has that ability every day to have fun. They have ability to make this a special day. And that's not an easy thing to do either, because when you're grinding out every day, sometimes you get days where guys are you kind of lose them. But this team doesn't seem like they kind of genuinely enjoy being out here every day, and so they've been fun to coach. They've been fun to beat up. They've been fun to yell at, because they kind of look at you and they just kind of got that look and they just keep rolling. So those are always fun teams to coach. So as far as putting my finger on a team, I think it's a little too early to tell you what personality they are or what they remind me of, but it'd be nice if they reminded me of that 1981 team. That would be sweet.
As Trevor's tailor-made, don't you think, for that Friday night role?
Yeah. Trevor's, well, Trevor, you look at the year he had last year, led the pack in victories, thrown on that Saturday. So Trevor's been through the fire. See, the thing, like I go back to, what makes Trevor special is not what you see on Friday. It's the 5 days, 6 days leading up to it, what he does and how he prepares and his work ethic and how much it means to him and the film study and all those things that he takes very serious. And that part of it, I feel good because on Friday he's going to have a good knowledge, third year in the conference. He's going to have an understanding about adjustments the teams can make on the fly, and that's that Friday guy. He doesn't have an opportunity to see who's hot, who's not coming into the weekend. He doesn't get to see adjustments that guys have made. It's on the fly. The Saturday guy gets to see that, and the Sunday guy gets to see that by Sunday. So he's evolved now, and he'll be prepared because he'll prepare himself, not only physically but mentally, be able to handle that.
You said you don't necessarily, because of some of the older guys, returning guys, you necessarily need the freshmen to be phenoms, right, immediately, but it does look like you're going to need some power, and I know some of these freshmen are big kids, because you've mentioned to me before, like kind of like Wallace and Davis types.
Yeah.
So do you see some of these guys that, as the season develops, are going to be capable of being power type hitters for you?
Those kids have a chance to be pretty physical. The whole key growing and experiences as a freshman are the sooner they can figure out that they might get a 2-0 changeup and a 3-0, 3-2 slider. Those are the things, once they kind of figure that stuff out, you kind of grow into your power. You grow into your physical ability it could be a very physical team. It's now where they're growing from the mental standpoint of how they're being pitched to be able to have that freedom to let it fly. And I'm pretty committed to give them that freedom and let them grow through that, because I'm excited about them. Because you're right, I see the potential for us to not just be an all-running team and a contact team. I'd like to be able to run, and we're going to run, and we're going to put pressure on, and that's not going to go away, but it sure would be nice, a couple of them, to get into one and make it a 3-run difference. So we're working on that. I think if we can do that, it'll make us a little bit more of a well-rounded team, and those guys can provide that for us.
Coach, what's your outlook on the Arkansas game and the Coca-Cola Classic?
When is that game? You want to talk about Bethune cooking? I mean, the outlook on Arkansas is that, Coach Van Horn, I've been very fortunate to know him and played against his teams, and, that where we're at that time, I don't know. If we had to play them today, I would tell you this is where we're at. And they're an exciting team. And they kind of got over the hump last year. They got themselves out of the regional and got to Omaha. And they've evolved a little bit. They're a little bit more, they run a little bit more and do some things. They got some quality guys back. But, that series will play out more as we go. Are they healthy and are they the way they put themselves on paper? Is that evolved by the time we play and surprise? And who are we at and where have we evolved? That'll give us a little bit better idea on where we're at sitting into that series. But on paper, it's going to be exciting. But there's a lot that can happen between now and that series and see where both teams are sitting.
Trevor Williams was talking about how awesome it was to be part of USA Baseball, and you were picked to be an assistant coach, if I'm not mistaken. Tell me what it's like for you to have that honor bestowed upon you, besides talking about the whole season.
Yeah, that's one of those bucket list things for me, and to represent your country to me is just one of the most special things you can do, and especially represent your country in baseball, America's game, America's pastime. So I'm excited, and I've known Coach Schlossnagel forever, the guy that's the head coach of the USA team. He was at UNLV when I was at Utah, so we clashed and got to know each other there, and then now he's done a heck of a job at TCU. So when he called me and asked me to come on staff and be the hitting coach and be the third base coach, I was like, that's a no-brainer, because I don't have to worry about anybody complaining to me that you're not playing or want to know. I was just like, hey, go talk to Skip, man. I'm just here to work with you as a hitter. So I'm looking forward to that. But the opportunity to put on that uniform and represent the country is a special thing.
A little bit of a cliche question, but if you could describe this team in one word, what do you think it would be?
Relentless.
Anything else?
When you can bring someone like Greg Bordas onto your staff,
Yeah.
what is that? Is that something it's like opportunity to take a former player and bring him in, help him get his career started? Is that kind of how you look at that?
You know, it is, but it's much more than that. You know, we had to make, Travis left for Vanderbilt, and so the decision was made to move Mike up in the recruiting role, and to bring Greg Bordas on. He's been around our program, not only as a player, but he's been around us. He's stayed around. He's done the student manager. He's done the graduate. I mean, he's paid his dues a little bit, and so he reminds me a lot of. At one point, I was given that opportunity. Being a former player, and then Coach Brock gave me that opportunity, and Jeff Pentland gave me a chance to say, "Hey, do this," and I get an opportunity to coach. And Greg's just one of those guys that needed somebody to give him an opportunity, and it's not just because being a part of the family and understanding our program and what our kids go through is a huge deal. But Greg Bordas is ready to coach. And that's just a great addition for us as far as bringing the guy in here with knowledge, with passion, and has that certain makeup that made him special here. He's been able to give to our kids, and I'm excited to have him in our program.
And what are his exact duties?
He is our catching coach, and he'll be our first base coach. And those are certain duties, but we're all. He helps base running. He's going to be in charge of scout reports, positioning. He's got a lot of stuff going on with him. We're going to throw him into the fire and see what he can do.
And Benjamin will be at third base.
Benji will be at third base, and so I can continue to yell at him from the dugout. And he can just ignore me and keep doing what he's doing. Thanks for coming out.